Testing 1 2 1 2. It is now 12:27, so it's time to get started. How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is MJ, aka Vikter, and we're going to talk about Charleston White real quick. So if you're seeing this, odds are I'm attempting to reach out to Charleston, and I actually want to follow up on a documentary that we shot with him a couple years ago. For those of you that don't know, we did shoot a documentary, we being Spirituality in Action, SIA, or Black Magic Productions, BMP, the production company of SIA, did shoot a documentary with Charleston White when he was pretty much starting to rise to a different level in his career. And I was rising to a different level spiritually, and he was a node in my journey that I wanted to capture while we were able to have access to him. You know, now it's tougher to get in contact with him. But I wanted to follow up with him for a couple different reasons, because I wanted to talk about these things. Negus, Negus, and I made a song called Land of the Negus, but where the king's at, because Negus are Black kings, right? So I'm gonna represent the Negus, right? And I asked Charleston White who he was, or who he is, because he claims to be playing a character. He says he's playing the character of a black nigger, right? N-I-G-G-A, right? So you got N-E-G-U-S and N-I-G-G-A, okay? So Charleston White is educated, right? And part of the documentary is called The Real Charleston White. So he allowed us to have access to his family and his friends and really get some of the backstory into how he created the character that he's playing now. An interesting thing about Charleston, which is why I wanted to talk to him, because he is a smart guy, right? And he's choosing to play this character because he said he didn't get nowhere when he was playing the good guy, or the Negus, if you will, or the king, if you will, or the educated one, or really, in my mind, and this is what I want to talk to him about, is he was playing the Negro, the intellectual Negro, right? And the intellectual Negro is like a Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? There's a difference. And in talking to Charleston and meeting Charleston, he allowed us to meet one of his mentors. And his mentor talked about him being introduced to the idea of the Negroes, right, and the hip hop. Charleston introduced him to the hip hop culture a little more. And he knew about the Negroes, but didn't know about the Negroes, right? But anyway, we're going to have a discussion. I like to have a discussion because part of what I wanted to discuss with him during that time, and you can see in the documentary, it was a chaotic weekend because he got in a car accident, and he also had some altercations that happened after that football game that we went to, right? So we were lucky just to get that final interview, but you can see in the interview, he was kind of talking about what was going on at the time, which I understand. This real life. That was real life that happened during that weekend. And he can get into detail with that, but I wanted to talk to him about the Matrix, right? Because I've seen and heard him talk a couple times about the Matrix, and wanted to talk on that idea and allow him to expand on that. We didn't get to do that because of the situation that happened, right? So, and even the whole documentary, I'll just say this real quick, when you're watching it, because you'll be able to watch it free on YouTube, and I did put some commercials in there for myself, right? And there's still some potential for the footage. A lot of that footage is still uncut and unseen that could be produced in a different way. So maybe this reconnection could rekindle some of that previous story, and we can touch base with where he is now, and maybe pick back up on the conversation I initially wanted to have with him about the Matrix, right? And it was interesting the things that came about, because none of that was scripted. So we didn't really have time to set up the interview, because the interview started as soon as we got there, right? Because it was real life, we were just capturing that. So it wasn't done in the way that we didn't want to say, hey, turn off your AC or do this or do that, because these people are just talking and being open. So this isn't about the production. This isn't about, wait, stop what you're saying. Let me set all these things up, you're ruining the flow of what's happening. So you just capture what you can and put it together and package it in the best way you can. So that's what we did with that documentary. So that's why it kind of looked the way it did and sounded the way it did, because we were setting up as we were recording, and we were just capturing the moment as it came. And things were just happening that we didn't have any idea that what were going to happen. But anyway, you can see the documentary. The whole idea is to have another discussion with Charleston, where he is now in his journey, right? And also pick up on some ideas about the Matrix, about Jesus. He said he calls himself Jesus, so I'm calling myself Jesus as well. We didn't get to talk about that. Black Jesus, if you will, or just Jesus in general. Jesus, the Matrix, and there was a whole lot of synchronicities. We talk about that too, that led to just that documentary and meeting him. I didn't know about him until Casey brought him up, and just that whole story. But anyway, there's a story that led up to that, and it has to do with synchronicity in my journey. And I think we're going to be able to reconnect on a level, because there's more. I think there's more there. So we'll see. Maybe not. Maybe there's nothing here, and there'll be no support for this. But either way, this is something that we're going to put out and see if there is support for it, because for a lot of different reasons. So all I wanted to say, all right, if you want anything to do, or you want to learn, or if you want to follow where I am, my story is I'm an engineer that awakened in the Matrix, and I'm filming a reality show called The Truman Show. And part of that documentary was pulling up on Charleston White. And a lot of things happened synchronistically during that weekend. Some things unexpected, a lot of them unexpected, right? One of them was happening to meet Beyonce's dad. Just happened to meet him at a bar where we were invited to go with Charleston, where some of his family members were having to get together. Just happened to invite us there. Just happened to go to the bar. He happened to walk by. We happened to catch that. We happened to have a conversation about spirituality, and I happened to tell him how I am someone that's been working in the background for a while and start to come to the top and be seen in the public eye, if you will. And he was saying, have confidence in yourself, this, that, and the other. And he ended up taking one of these, one of my Vikter bracelets, and which stands for victory over noise. And I took a picture with him. And then he ended up saying he wanted to meet Charleston, and then we ended up taking him in there. And he asked who Charleston was, and I said he was someone. I couldn't say anything, right? I said Charleston is someone. I had to be quick, right? He didn't know who he was. He just saw this big party when he walked by, right? It could have been just being nosy, but anyway, it looked like he was being nosy. Anyway, yeah, Beyonce dad was being nosy. Yeah, he's still a black man. He's still a man, right? Look how much money he got, how much money his daughter got. But anyway, he was walking by, and so he asked me who Charleston was, and I said, well, Charleston is someone that basically was an ex-gang member that was doing work to stop gang violence, pretty much, something to that effect. And he was like, oh, we'll tell him, that's good. We need more men like you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, you're more than welcome to, I can introduce you, this, that, and the other. And then the rest goes as it's recorded, because he didn't have any idea that he was going to meet Matthew Knowles, right? But there'll be more synchronicities like that that'll happen. And Charleston White is one of those synchronicities that led to other ones, and certain nodes haven't been fully fleshed out. So we're going to flesh out these, and that's what we're doing now. So didn't want to make this too long. Just wanted to kind of let you know what was going on. So if you're seeing this, it's either going to be a post or it's going to be a crowdfunding kind of thing. Because what I like to do, I think he's in Las Vegas. So I like to go to Las Vegas, right? And we'll do a part 2, we'll do a sequel, we'll see where his trajectory is. Because we talked about 5 years, so we're like halfway in between that, right? So what's changed between now and then, and what would he tell his past self, and what do you think he would tell his future self? And maybe we'll touch base with him in a couple of years. and we'll see where we are in our legs of the journey, because in his mind, he got further and more eyes when he chose to play the uneducated nigger. But I'm choosing to still play the Negus, and we'll see how both of us fare, right? The turtle in the hare, if you will, continuing to play the role, even though society does not support it, and there's evidence that shows that, but still maintaining that pace, because that's who you are, right? I can play a nigga if I wanted to, but I'm choosing not to, just like he chooses to play a nigga, right? So we're both making choices, and right now the choices that he is making is benefiting him more financially than the choices I'm making. But the idea is that long-term, the choices that I'm making will benefit me financially just as much as they benefit him and more, and I get to experience being who I am, a Negus, right? A black king versus a Negai, which is a fabricated American thing, which is an uneducated misrepresentation of ourselves, a reflection that we were given to make us feel less than a man, not even human, like chattel. So, and done purposely, past the race purposely, past that will connect you to your kingdom, your kinghood, your Negus, right? So that's why the Negai is more popular. That's why the Negai is supported, that Negai music. I'm saying it like Pops did in the interview. That's why that is supported, right? Because this is a culture, this is a country that created that, exports that, makes money off that, and supports that. And the system does not want Negus. The system wants Negus, niggas, right? They want niggas, and niggas are gonna fight crackers, right? Got that whole racial deal, and that's good business. Anything division is good business. We don't want cooperation. That's bad business. Bad business for the system where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So bad business for them is actually good business for us. But we're so caught up in money that we continue to support their bad business by doing stupid stuff, doing nigga stuff. And that's what it is. So, yeah, these are things that I would like to discuss with Charles. And we can even add someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson in there and get a Negro perspective, right? I think that would be cool to have that conversation. I don't know if we can fit that all in under that budget, but that would be cool. I mean, these are conversations that will probably never happen again, right? You got Jesus, and you got a Nega, a very popular Nega, and a very popular Negro, right? Or Michael, right? I'm saying I'm the reincarnation of Jesus, right? On that same spirit, which was Michael, and I'm Michael, right? An angel, and God only makes angels. And I know, Vikter discusses all of that. Right now, we're just demonstrating all of that on the highest level that we can, right? So, and we're touching base on some of the work that was done in the past, and we're tying off some of those chapters, and we're creating new ones. We're seeing where we are on multiple levels. This is being done with family and friends and business associates, right? Are we going to have a relationship where we want to grow and we're going to be partners, or is this where it is? And no judgment either way, because those seats are going to get filled regardless. Now, I would like them to be filled with people that I've had experiences with, regardless of their fame or fortune, right? I know people that have a lot of money and people that are famous. Not like that, but I know of them, right? I've met them before, but it's not a big thing to me. It's like, whose line is it anyway? The points don't matter. Money doesn't matter. What is your character like? How do you treat people? How do you treat yourself? That's more important than whatever number you got in your bank account. Anyway, with all that being said, the idea is to have this conversation and just document what's happening, just like we did the first time. And whatever's going to be going on is what's going to go on, and we'll capture it. So we'll see if there's an audience for it. There's an audience for nigga stuff, and Charleston White is a very popular nigga, so maybe tying a note off with this popular nigga can get some Negus stuff included in the conversation. Because again, when I talked to him, I didn't want to talk about any of the hip hop beefs or his gang beefs and all that stuff. I wanted to talk about the matrix and the system and just his experience of that, because I haven't heard him talk too much on that. But again, those things were fresh, so those things were what he was discussing then, and that's kind of how that went. So, Charleston, if you're seeing this, yeah, my number hasn't changed, and I tried to reach out earlier, but I know you're a busy person. Maybe you'll see this, or your people will see this, and if I can have the funds, then maybe we can it can be just as simple as a booking. But I like to work with you on the back end, on the business side, because again, I think using your platform could also benefit the community in a way that you might not have thought of. Like, for example, if you participate in the promotion of this, it can go further than my mouth, right? You can talk way louder than I can. But imagine a portion of this proceeds going back to helping the community. This is an example of us creating something that can create revenue that can be used for good or for ways that we want to use it, and benefit off of our own stories versus someone else telling them. So that's just an option, and just have giving back built into the profits. So the things that we work on are doing that. I initially wanted this project to be a part of that, and that wasn't the case, but ran out of money as far as advertising, and it wasn't supported by anyone from your team. And so we just go ahead and put it out because we didn't want to get too long. We wanted to let that story be told. That's how that played out, but maybe the next version plays out differently. But the idea is to have something that is produced, that can be sold, that can make revenue, and part of that revenue goes to the community. So if people like nigga stuff, if people like Charleston White, then we're not trying to change human behavior. If people are gonna support that kind of content, then okay, I'm not creating that kind of content all the time, but I can create some of that content, and that can be used to generate revenue that goes back to support the communities in ways that people that create that content don't, right? That's all I'm doing. Because I can use the same thing, I can use these drones and all of this stuff to do bad, quote unquote bad, but I'm choosing to do quote unquote good with it. And in this reality, it takes a longer time to get seen for doing good. I can use these things to do bad and be known tomorrow, be known today, be known tonight, right? That's easy. It's difficult to do that and have no one support you, no family support you, and actually try to hold you down, right? That's been my experience. But the reason why I do what I do, and the reason why I keep going, is because of the future generations. It's because of the ones that can't speak and fight for themselves. So when you see them being neglected, when you see them being taken advantage of and bullying, I don't like bullies. So having been through bullying and being big enough to now bully the bullies, but not doing that and being a protector for those that can't protect themselves now, and show them how they can stand into their own power, but just to hold that spot for them until they get big enough to stand into their own power. And that's the placeholder that I'm doing for the future generations. Just like Charleston said, and we'll wrap this up, as he said, for a while, it's been boys raising boys. And now we need to show an example of a man so that we can look at the men within ourselves and we can see the growth that is available within us. We're not comparing ourselves to anyone. The only competition that we have or you have is you, right? And the question is, can we do better? And only you can answer that when you look in the mirror. but we don't have examples of doing better. The examples that we have are supporting the same system, the same division. And I'll say this because part of what I do with spirituality and action and saga is the 80-20 rule. So if you have a hand, you can look at your hand and you can see an example of the 80-20 rule. And you can also see an example. I'm one of the ones that are opposing. I'm an opposable thumb, if you will. I'm part of the same hand. Most of the people in my reality are going in one direction and I'm going in a different direction. But I'm part of the same hand. We're all part of the same thing. We're part of the same source. If you just experience the pinky part, you don't experience the hand part, right? So you have a finger and you have a hand, but they're all a hand, right? When you grab something, you grab it with your hand, but you use your fingers to grab it, but you grab it with your hand. Your hand and your fingers are together. Your fingers are part of your hand, and your hand has fingers, right? You're a human being, and you're a being experiencing being human, right? The being part is bigger than the human part. The hand is bigger than any one of the fingers, but all the fingers are part of the hand. That's how we are with source, if you will. And I'm one of the ones that opposes a lot of the people in beings and souls, however you want to look at it, that go in a certain direction in this reality, right? But I'm still connected to the same source. And the opposable thumb is beneficial when it's connected to the whole, because now we're able to do things that we couldn't, grab things and manipulate things when we couldn't if we didn't have the opposable thumbs, right? So I understand my position, and I understand it is one of solitude to a degree, right? But the thumb understands that the reason why it sticks out is so it can maximize its potential. And there's a part of us that sticks out, right? There's a part of us that sticks in. The inner journey is a spiritual journey, right? And the outer part of us is a reflection of the inner part, and vice versa, right? And the thing about integrity, though, is when there's consistency between the outer and the inner, a lot of what we've seen is just fake outer and not real inner. And that's been just the majority of what we've been seeing is hollowed out. There's no integrity, right? And now we're showing examples where there's integrity all the way through. And it's not trying to be perfect. No such thing as a perfect person, right? That means you never made a mistake, period. Like you never failed, you never dropped the ball, you never, like, we all make mistakes, we learn from our mistakes. The issues when we make the same mistakes and expect something different to happen. And I'm learning from the mistakes. But now you just repeat the program. But now you just run into a wall, expecting the wall to change. Right? That's not going to happen. We're going to change direction. That's kind of what's going on now. Anyway, didn't want to get too far there, but 80-20, because that's 20% is going in one direction, right? 80% is going in this direction. So 80-20 is 20% of the profits that we get are going back into the community. That's the budget that we use to fund things such as free daycare. That's one of the big things that we're looking at, free daycare. So imagine for $1 that comes in, 20% of something, 20% of it goes to the budget to have free daycare. And that's one of the programs that we want to have sustained through the arts, through projects like this. I'm not saying it's going to be all Charleston White stuff, but there's other things that we do as well that are pretty cool that will be coming to light, right? That have that same formula built into it. So it's sustainable, and then the artists get supported as well. So you can use your art, you can donate your art, or you can contribute and collaborate your art and include it in that network, because people will eventually support that network more that it has given back into it. And it's the same stuff you're already doing now, the same products that you're doing now, maybe even better quality and things of that nature. That's what we plan to do. But same products you're doing now. But the idea is people will support that, and that's also supporting the artists. So whether you collaborate with us or whether you create art and you want it to be sold on our platform, either way, it's going to collaborate, it's going to benefit the artists and the community. We're doing a win-win, and a win-win-win, triple, right? The trifecta, the customer. Right? So the customer wins, the artist wins, and the community want to get on board with that, cool. If they want to watch, cool. Either way, it's going to happen. And just knowing that it is what it is, we're going to be the closer thumb, but together we're going to be able to do more. We're going to bring this thing together. We're going to show that we're stronger together than we are apart. And the things that unite us are much greater than those things that separate us. And those things that separate us, instead of using those to fight each other, we can use those to show the differences in our cultures, and they're like the spices. So not everything has to be just black and white, salt and pepper. There's all of these different spices that can be used to that our taste buds have a palate for. So the religions can be like spices, but they're not the main meal. Right? We don't just eat spices. The spices on there. And you can have too much of this spice and too much of that spice, right? But anyway, just using that example, that we don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's how it Alright. Talked for way too long. Maybe there's a long version and a short version. I don't know.